During a recent motorhome adventure, I stayed on a campsite on the edge of Delamere Forest and right next to the Manchester-Chester train line. Being at a bit of a loose end and looking for something to do, we decided to head on over to Chester and see what all the fuss is about. This video was captured to record our day in the city of Chester and also to accompany my motorhome blog. I've included the link to the blog in the description of this video for you to check out, if you're interested of course. Without further ado, here's my day out in Chester, starting from Chester train station. The train station didn't appear too far from the town centre, so rather than getting a bus or taxi, we thought we would walk it. Before going to Chester, I had this vision in my mind, and the first part of the walk to the town centre was not what I had envisaged at all. I had visions of historical buildings and grand architecture, but the reality appeared to be very different. I could see the odd Tudor-style building, but not that many. I have to say I was a little disappointed as I passed fast food outlet after fast food outlet after fast food outlet. There were several different types of cuisine, and with Thai, Chinese, Indian, Turkish, and Italian among others to choose from, the residents of Chester seem to be well catered for. The range of cuisine may be impressive, but it's not the traditional vibe I was expecting. Once in the town centre, the first port of call was the Tourist Information Centre, which so happens to be right by the town hall. I have to say there wasn't loads of suitable things for us in the Tourist Information Centre, although we did find a few things. The town hall is an impressive building, like many other buildings in Chester. Opposite the Tourist Information Centre is Chester Cathedral, and whilst I wasn't overly keen on going inside, the better half was. I appreciate historical buildings and architecture, but I'm not religious, so whilst I will look around the outside of churches, chapels and cathedrals, I rarely go inside, especially if I have to pay. Before going to Chester, I was told I had to throw my thoughts about religious buildings aside and go and take a look at the interior, and stained glass work in particular. This time I was prepared to pay to go inside. However, I did have a maximum amount I was prepared to part with, and this is a lot less than the 11 quid or so York Minster demands. Chester Cathedral is free to get in, however there is a suggested donation of £4 per person as explained by a chap issuing tickets as you enter the cathedral. The chap was very bullish requesting the money, and rather than saying it is a donation, he may as well just have said it is an entrance fee. I didn't think £4 per person was too bad. Well, it is way cheaper than York Minster's. So, as I'm sure you've already guessed, I paid up and went in. Chester Cathedral is absolutely stunning, and the architecture is something else and words fail me. The stained glass work is indeed amazing and worth looking at, but there is so much more besides. The fixtures and fittings, the statues, the pews, the wall mosaics, the graphics on the ceiling. There is just so much to see and admire. It is not only the exterior of Chester Cathedral that is absolutely stunning, as the interior is too. I used a GoPro Hero 6 to record the footage inside Chester Cathedral, and overall I would say it has done a pretty good job, especially as the inside of the cathedral is dark and the low light performance of the GoPro isn't that great. It gives you an idea of what the inside of Chester Cathedral is like, but it doesn't show just how bright and pretty the colours are, especially with regards to the stained glass work. To fully appreciate the interior of Chester Cathedral, you really have to go and experience it for yourself, as my GoPro simply doesn't do it justice. Chester Cathedral blew me away, and I'm so glad I went against what I usually do and went inside. I did feel a bit of a hypocrite looking around a religious building as a non-believer, but I think my £10 donation, just for me, makes up for it. I never thought I would say this, but a trip to the cathedral is a must if you're visiting Chester. After the cathedral, I noticed a sign for a falconry centre, and being the sort of person that likes all animals, I thought it may be interesting to go and take a look. The signs for the falconry centre were a little confusing, sent us on a hike around the outside of the cathedral and the abbey. We finally found the falconry centre, and after seeing an entry fee of £5 per person, I decided against it. I appreciate £5 isn't a great deal of money, but it's a tenner for both of us, and all these £10 here, £5 there, £3 there, etc. soon adds up. I could see the falconry centre from above, whilst on the city wall, and when I saw a handful of cages, I knew I had made the right decision to give the falconry centre a miss. Walking around the city walls is something we tend to do whenever we visit a city with a wall. Before visiting Chester, I was told the city wall is very well preserved and also complete, which is a bit of a rare thing. With the cathedral ticked off the to-do list, it was time to walk around the city wall. We weren't entirely sure how far it was or how long it was going to take, but we were going to finish it, and here's some footage. I didn't record the entire route, but I did record various sections along the way. The walk around Chester's city wall was really good, and something I am not only glad I did, but also something I would highly recommend. The views from the wall are stunning, and being at a high vantage point, you get to see a different perspective, and there are loads of photo opportunities too. I didn't have the GPS with me to track our route around the wall, so I'm not too sure how far it is. The complete circuit took just over an hour and a half at a moderate walking pace, and also stopping to take a few photos along the way. At the end of the day, it takes as long as it takes, and this will vary from person to person. Here's a slideshow of some of the sights from around the wall. I am not one for horse racing, however, if I lived locally to here and could get to watch horse racing for free, things may be slightly different. The views over the racecourse from the city wall are superb, and I am stunned you can get so close to the track and get a view like this without spending a penny. After the walk around the wall, it was time for a spot of lunch, and after reading about the Old King's Head pub in the book about Chester before our visit, the venue for lunch was an easy decision. The Old King's Head turned out to be a good choice, and whilst the food was a little bit gastro and contemporary for my liking, it was very tasty and good value for money. Walking around after a substantial lunch doesn't work for me, so to aid the digestion, a trip down the River Dee was in order. The river was a brief walk from the pub, and with regular half-hour boat trips there wasn't too much of a wait. A half-hour boat trip cost £7.50 per adult, which isn't too bad at all. There were two boats offering the rides up the river, being the Lady Diana and the Mark Twain. Both of the boats offer exactly the same thing and at the same price, so it doesn't matter which one we went on. The Mark Twain had just returned as we reached the quay, and with the Lady Diana departing in the next 5 minutes we jumped aboard. This is just a small snippet of a trip down the River Dee on the Lady Diana. If you want to see the trip in its entirety, there is a link in the card. Please do feel free to check it out at some point. Having only seen amphitheatres in Italy and Turkey, I was keen to see how the UK version would measure up, and I have to say, it doesn't. The amphitheatres abroad were large, mostly complete, well preserved and impressive. The amphitheatre in Chester is a little more than a hole in the ground in comparison, and I was underwhelmed. Fortunately, the amphitheatre was on our route and I didn't have to stray too far to check it out. Had I needed to go far out of my way to view the amphitheatre, I would have been less than impressed. Like the amphitheatre, the Roman gardens are underwhelming and mediocre. Don't get me wrong, they are worth a visit and offer a tranquil spot in the city centre, but they are nothing to rave about. That said, the Roman gardens offer a great spot for a picnic lunch, somewhere to take 5 from the hustle and bustle of the crowds, or somewhere to have a quick liquid refreshment. The Roman gardens were full of squirrels, and whilst many people, at least where I come from, refer to them as rats with tails, I have to say I think they are quite cute. The squirrels where I come from are very shy and are only seen scuttling across the road, climbing a tree before disappearing into the canopy, or as a roadkill on the side of the road. To see tame squirrels is a novelty for me, so for a bit of light relief and for something a little different, I thought I would have a go at playing David Attenborough and capture some video of these uber cool animals. The shopping district of Chester is full of retail outlets, and if shopping is your thing, you'll love it. The shopping districts of most of the towns and cities I visit on my motorhome adventures are much of a muchness, and full of the typical high street names that are in my hometown. Okay, there is the odd small independent shop, but on the whole it is no different than shopping back at home. Chester is not like this at all, and the shopping district is rammed full of different shops. The main high street names are there, but there's also lots of independents, some top-end brands such as Hugo Boss and the like, and loads of other shops that are not present back home. There doesn't seem to be distinct top-end and budget-end areas, which is great, and I like the fact that I could go into a designer boutique and a couple of doors further down the street go into a charity shop or a standard national high street chain. One thing that makes Chester stand out as a shopping destination in my opinion is the Rose, which is like nothing else I've ever come across. The first floor street, full of even more shops above and overlooking the normal street, is really cool and gives Chester that something extra. When we arrived at Chester Station, the better half was keen to get to the main town as quickly as possible, so I didn't get a proper chance to look around the train station. In order to catch the train back to Delamere Forest Station, I made sure I had plenty of time so I could have a proper look around. Chester Station, like many of the buildings in Chester, is a historic and beautiful building to be appreciated. It reminds me of the train station in my hometown, which was built around the same time. However, Chester Station is a little more grand. I am a fan of historical cities, and I have to say that Chester has become my favourite, knocking York, which has been my must-go-to historical city for several years, into second spot. Chester has won me over, and I will definitely be back in the future.